So I just had a frank and constructive meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu. I told him that I will always ensure that Israel is able to defend itself, including from Iran and Iran-backed militias such as Hamas and Hezbollah. From when I was a young girl, collecting funds to plant trees for Israel, to my time in the United States Senate and now at the White House, I have had an unwavering commitment to the existence of the State of Israel, to its security, and to the people of Israel. I've said it many times, but it bears repeating. Israel has a right to defend itself, and how it does so matters. Ooh. Hamas is a brutal terrorist organization.
No.
On October 7, Hamas triggered this war when it massacred 1,200 innocent people, including 44 Americans. Hamas has committed horrific acts of sexual violence and took 250 hostages. There are American citizens who remain captive in Gaza. Sagi Deko Hen, Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, Idan Alexander, Keith Siegel, Omer Nutra.
I hate this shit so much. The fucking, Hamas started this. Bro, come on. 76 years? Like, what are we talking about? Don't even fucking mention it. Yeah, she's doing the same both-sided shit that Biden was doing, but she is more positive. Megaphonics, you're right. She's just 10% more. She's just 10% more progressive than Biden is, or 10% more pro-Palestinian than Biden is. But because Biden was like 200% committed to Israel, getting to 190% commitment to Israel doesn't change the game that much. Is she on Bernie level? I don't think she's on Bernie level. I mean, Bernie also says Hamas started it, but overall, like, I don't think Bernie spends this much time talking about October 7. You only do that if you want to justify Israel's current actions. You are trying to contextualize Israel's 40,000 death toll by constantly reiterating that Hamas started it on October 7. So they can't acknowledge it? Brother, acknowledge reality. 76 years of occupation and an apartheid. That, by the way, isn't just my estimation because I'm like some fucking woke guy. Like, the ICJ declared Israel to be an apartheid literally 2 fucking weeks ago. The ICC has arrest warrants out for Benjamin Netanyahu. Israel dick riders are literally so fucking delusional. They live in their own world where they live in a world where they're like, no, this happened on October 7. That's how this happened. It's just October 7. It was really violent. And then that's why Israel did this. Acknowledge reality. Saying this all started on October 7 is not reality. On October 6, the Euromed Monitor literally came out with a report that said 2023 has been the deadliest year for Palestinian children. What was happening to them? Why were they dying, you think? That was before October 7. How are they dying? It's just ahistorical to fucking say October 7 is when all of this started. Anyway. And then she continues on with like the American victims or the American Israeli victims. And it just like says their names. Are you going to sit there and read fucking 40,000 names of Palestinian children that have been murked? Palestinian women that have been murked? Palestinian men that have been murked? Because we'd be here for a lot longer than the last fucking 5 minutes of this video if she was going to start fucking reading out names. Come on, man. Doesn't that make you a Hamas dig rider? Isn't Hamas killing his own children as well? What do you mean Hamas is killing his own children? What do you think Hamas is doing? You think they're going door to door and just like shooting children? What are you, fucking stupid? What the hell's wrong with these people? It's just like pure delusion. How do you argue with a guy who's just like operating on the basis of like not the most violent militant state that has been an occupying force illegally sieging this as a belligerent occupier, illegally sieging their open air prison? It's actually not them fucking blowing up people willingly. It's actually Hamas that's like killing the children. The Islamophobia in America is so big and so many liberals in this chat is showing it. Yeah. Like, I don't get it. Like, well, what do you mean? Isn't Hamas just killing children? Yeah, everything is Hamas, dude. You're right. Isn't that convenient? Doesn't that like make you even a little bit interested? Like a little bit interested in and want to like scratch the surface a little bit more? Like, it seems a little bit convenient that like Hamas is killing their own citizens and it's not like the fucking nuclear militant state. Like, I guess they're using F-15s on their own people. You want to read the names of the Americans and charity workers killed by Israel? I don't think so.
And the remains of American citizens Judy Weinstein, Gad Haggai, and Itai Hen are still being...
You are literally in the deep state. Stop talking about politics. I know, chatters. I know that, like, all of your fucking edgy rightoid, alt-right adjacent, sometimes centrist commentators like to posture against, like, women in gaming or whatever, and that's why they're bold and brave warriors of free speech. But suspiciously on this one issue, they never actually have that same level of smoke for a Jewish ethno-state that is currently engaging in ethnic cleansing, claiming that they're doing it for Judaism, which is a lie, by the way. Why is it that so many of these edgy content creators always have the smoke for, like, random fucking trans people on the, like, now I'm not even talking about, like, Ava Chris Tyson or whatever. It's just, like, regular trans people living their fucking daily lives. They're all pedophiles. Oh, I'm just edgy, bro. What do you mean? And then when it comes to Israel, they're like, wow, Hasanabi at it again. It's giving anti-Semitism, sweetie. Someone should do something about it. Like, get the fuck out of here with this, like, oh, you're being edgy. Or, I mean, sorry. Oh, you're a Fed. What fucking federal agent is doing this? People are objectively cowards on this, okay? Objectively. And my expectation isn't even that they say anything about it, right? Because God forbid you don't appear brand friendly, okay? But when they actually course correct and hit it from the other side of the issue and, like, defend Israel with full loyalty, unconditional defense to Israel, we must attack Israel's haters, that's when I lose my shit. I'm like, you're such a fucking boner, dude. You are such a fucking little bitch. Like, you're supposed to be this, like, edgy guy, right? And then, oh my God, you talk like a fucking 75-year-old neocon when it comes to Israel. Nah, Islam is actually so disgusting. A side is way overdue. Like, think about the callous indifference that this person demonstrates when talking about genociding the entire Muslim world. There's more than 1 billion people on this planet. That's got to be a Euro chatter, by the way. The European mind is astounding. The Angloid brain is like 3 steps removed from Hitlerian politics. Bro, there's only 2 sides of this coin, man. It's either you hate Islam or you do not care what the faith say they are, and your support, you side with the side more. Then he proved your point. There's only 2 sides of this coin, man. It's either you hate Islam or you do not care what faith they are and you support your side with more. There he proved your point. Anyway, this is advocating for a genocide. That's 0 steps away from Hitlerian politics. No, I'm saying, like, he's advocating for a genocide, which is Hitlerian politics, but it's like 3 steps removed before he said this. If you look at his fucking commentary, I'm sure, oh, never mind. It's his first statement. Russell is so fat. Russell would be ashamed to have you in his fucking chat, dumb fuck. Like, think about, like, there is no world where you could say this for anybody else. People still do, but you can't say it. Like, the consequences for saying this for Islam and Muslims in general are so marginal in comparison to saying it about any marginalized group, okay? It's actually crazy. Like, you could just straight up say, you know, Islam is disgusting and it's warranted to genocide all Muslims. And it's not, like, seen in the same spectrum of, like, saying that about Jewish people, saying that about black people.
Being held in Gaza. I have met with the families of these American hostages multiple times now, and I've told them each time they are not alone, and I stand with them. And President Biden and I are working every day to bring them home. I also expressed with the Prime Minister my serious concern about the scale of human suffering in Gaza, including the death of far too many innocent civilians. And I made clear my serious concern about the dire humanitarian situation there, with over 2 million people facing high levels of food insecurity, and 500,000 people facing catastrophic levels of acute food insecurity. What has happened in Gaza over the past 9 months is devastating. The images of dead children and desperate...
Yeah, the Surfs is right, by the way. The Surf said, this is like markedly better than Biden. And this is literally just bare minimum shit that like this is bare minimum. And it's on a different playing field as Biden. Now that I look at the whole speech, and that isn't to say that she's doing a great job. She definitely is not. That is simply to point out how unimaginably ruthless Biden was. It is wild. Acute food insecurity pisses me off. Yeah, it's starvation. It's like deliberate mass starvation as a weapon.
Hungry people fleeing for safety, sometimes displaced for the second, third, or fourth time. We cannot look away in the face of these tragedies. We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent. Thanks to the leadership of our President, Joe Biden, there is a deal on the table for a ceasefire and a hostage deal. And it is important that
Why were the protesters there spray painting Hamas coming on stuff? Because they're fucking edgelords and they're LARPers. During the BLM protest, there were people saying like, fry them like bacon, you know, cops are pigs, fry them like bacon. Did that change your attitude or your opinion about police brutality in this country? When I get mad at right-wing protests, I don't just get mad because there's like some Nazis at the protest. I get mad because the entire movement is fundamentally fascist, okay? You have to look at the actual reason for why people are protesting. What do fucking right-wingers protest? They protest like not taking out a Confederate statue. You know what I mean? Why would you want to have a Confederate statue up there? Why did the Confederate statue get built? These are things you have to think about. It's not just like a couple people or even the damn near entirety of the movement for Charlottesville going, Jews will not replace us. That is the most offensive aspect of it. The rest of the movement is also offensive. The goals are offensive. All of that is not in line with my worldview. Do you get it? Whereas with leftist protests, with progressive protests, people always try to go for like the most extreme, the most extreme angle to be like, see, this is how it is. Yeah. Women's reproductive rights law. Exactly. What? Bro, I'm not an edgelord. I'm just talking about the truth that you're part of the deep state. And no, I'm not a fascist. No, you're not. You're just schizophrenic. You said vote RFK. Like you listened to me fucking rant about Israel and then turned around and said vote RFK, which is like the exact same position on Israel as Joe Biden. You're just hallucinating shit. I don't know how to have a conversation with you.
On this issue, Kamala Harris is under a lot of pressure. So much so that an aide avoided directly answering whether the vice president considers herself a Zionist, a term Biden proudly reaffirmed just weeks ago. This hesitation in not calling her a Zionist reflects how much the opinion of American public has shifted on Israel. It also highlights the contrast in thinking and rhetoric between the Democratic Party's new standard bearer and a president who has made allegiance with Israel a cornerstone of his 50-year political career. There are some differences between the rhetoric of Biden and Harris, but only time will tell whether this will lead to any concrete action or not.
we recall what the deal involves. The first phase of the deal would bring about a full ceasefire, including a withdrawal of the Israeli military from population centers in Gaza. In the second phase, the Israeli military would withdraw from Gaza entirely, and it would lead to a permanent end to the hostilities. It is time for this war to end, and end in a way where Israel is secure, all the hostages are released, the suffering of Palestinians in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can exercise their right to freedom, dignity, and self-determination. There has been hopeful movement in the talks to secure an agreement on this deal. And as I just told Prime Minister Netanyahu, it is time to get this deal done. So to everyone who has been calling for a ceasefire, and to everyone who yearns for peace, I see you and I hear you. Let's get the deal done so we can get a ceasefire to end the war. Let's bring the hostages home, and let's provide much-needed relief to the Palestinian people. And ultimately, I remain committed to a path forward that can lead to a two-state solution. And I know right now it is hard to conceive of that prospect, but a two-state solution is the only path.
Who's fucking up the talks, Kamala? The admin can't hide behind Biden's age at this point, you know? The admin could have hid Biden for the most part and only fucking trotted him out every now and then to be like, Israel, the best nation on earth, and the Palestinians have an ancient bone in their brain that makes them anti-Semitic. It's an ancient anti-Semitism. I hate it. Jack, we beat Israel, Jack. Like, he would say shit like that, okay? And then the media would, pick up whatever they wanted to fucking hear from that psychotic nonsense. Anyway, what's up?
That ensures Israel remains a secure Jewish and democratic state, and one that ensures Palestinians can finally realize the freedom, security, and prosperity that they rightly deserve. And I will close with this then. It is important for the American people to remember the war in Gaza is not a binary issue. However, too often the conversation is binary, when the reality is anything but. So I ask my fellow Americans to help encourage efforts to acknowledge the complexity, the nuance, and the history of the region. Let us all condemn terrorism and violence. Let us all do what we can to prevent the suffering of innocent civilians, and let us condemn anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate of any kind. And let us work to unite our country.
Why is no one asking what happens if Israel refuses to abide by U.S.'s deal? Nothing. Nada. Absolutely nothing. I feel so bad for Cutie. You sounded so depressed. I'm not. Why would I? I don't know. This is just how I normally sound, I think. Maybe I just normally sound sad. Maybe I'm just a sad guy. Why not give the Jewish settlers Palestinian citizenship? Good one. That'd be funny. Who could be depressed with such voting privilege? I know. We could be in Eritrea right now, not being able to vote. And yet here we are in America, where you can vote between two options if you care about like pesky little thing like genocide. We got such great options. It's like genocide light versus genocide ultra. You sound much happier on Fear and when you don't, and then you do when streaming, but most often, but who cares? Yeah, of course, because I'm just hanging out with friends.
I thank you.
I give up. Okay, let's hear what they're saying.
Israel was one of the biggest issues where whenever it came up, the White House would say there is no daylight between the vice president and the president. And I do think this is going to be a really important space to watch to see if in the coming days and in the coming weeks, we do start to see a little bit more daylight creep in between the two.
All right, MJ, thank you very much. And here for our conversation, Estelle, let me just start with you.
Shit.
Interesting.
That's crazy that Estelle was just on the Hasanabi broadcast. Now he's on CNN.
Because of being vice president, she can be in that room and then look like a commander in chief, right?
That's
and to
so
take that,
funny,
and
bro.
she did it, and she sees it, and she went immediately to do that. So, what are you hearing from your sources to this fundamental question? And I know there's not necessarily a definitive answer right now, but is this burst of exuberance and full surge? Does it have longevity?
I'm fucking goated, dude. Holy shit. Holy shit.
Harris gets the benefits of incumbency as she's in the office right now, because I think we're going to see the White House intentionally lean on her in these big moments to be able to show her someone who's grown over the past several years. I remember when I was reporting on her last year, they would make a point to say that she was more respected globally than even she was appreciated domestically by Democrats. And that's been a place where she's seen a lot of emphasis. I think they're going to try to roll that out. And I do think that even if the policy and differences between her and Biden and Gaza are small, the rhetorical differences and the kind of empathy for Palestinians that she's made a point to show over the last several months might be the kind of tonal difference you see between her and at the top. But to the point about does this last, part of that is the question of whether she can capitalize the upside that she clearly has in differences from Biden. The groups that are most marginal Democratic voters, younger people, Black and Latinos, folks who are outside the process, they're clearly more favorably see her than Joe Biden, the question will be, does that turn into preference that actually moves votes consistently? Right. And I think that's going to have a policy question behind it that we haven't really gotten to yet.
Right. Now, and Alyssa, to this point about commander-in-chief, and Netanyahu happens to be the man of the moment. The commander-in-chief got a meeting, the would-be Democratic commander-in-chief, and now, of course, he is going to go meet Trump tomorrow at Mar-a-Lago. So he's going down there, and that's significant. What are the optics of that, especially when Trump came out and actually said, thought it was interesting, they got a PR problem.
Sorry, I'll stick with the streamer whose guests are mostly banned everywhere. Thanks. Well, yeah, that's how you know I'm deep state.
What happened, that it was going to be Joe Biden. Netanyahu came to give this address yesterday thinking it was Trump versus Joe Biden. And now you've got Kamala Harris as the person running. I think it was incredibly savvy of her to give these remarks. And I would say this. They were nuanced. There was a little something for everything. She condemned sexual violence by Hamas. She said it committed unwavering support, but then also leaned into saying she recognizes the plight of the Palestinians. This is, I think, where most of the country is, and something that Joe Biden has kind of struggled to articulate during this crisis. It'll be interesting to see how tomorrow goes. There's a lot of bad will, I would say, between Trump and Netanyahu. Trump never got over the fact that he congratulated Joe Biden when he won the election. But I also think that that relationship can be healed.
David, so let's just throw the poll up again from the New York Times. That's the one that shows Harris statistically tied with Trump. He gets a post-convention bounce. She gets obviously significantly more than that because Biden was down 6 points in the same poll. So what do you think, David, in terms of how real this is? I mean, it's a moment in time. Is it more than that?
Well, I think it's real. The question is it sufficient? What she is doing is she's beginning to coalesce the Democratic base that helped elect Biden 4 years ago, and that Democrats need to win national elections. And that includes enthusiasm and participation and support from younger voters, from the African-American community, from Hispanic voters. She's doing better than Joe Biden was. Those voters were drifting away from him, which accounted for a lot of his problems. So that is a good sign. And the fact that she's closed this gap so handsomely in just a few days is a good sign. But if the election were today, she'd still lose, and she'd probably lose by a significant margin in the Electoral College, because Democrats have to be ahead in the national poll to win because of the way population is distributed around the country. But this is certainly good news for her. And the question is, can she expand beyond it? One other point, she does open up new fronts in the electoral map. You know, one of the reasons why she has suffered in the Sun Belt states is loss among African-American voters, loss among Hispanic-American voters in places like Nevada and Arizona, even New Mexico. And the fact that she's doing better among those voters is a good sign that she might be able to fight her way back into those states. And that would give her more options on the path to 270 electoral votes.
Mayor Bottoms, you know, do you think that opening of the electoral map, I mean, how huge do you think this is going to be for her? I mean, Biden had essentially given up on, I think it's fair to say, North Carolina. I would say Georgia, too. And now, are these really states she can win?
Absolutely. No one believed that we could win Georgia in 2020, and here we are. And in fact, the vice president is returning to Georgia again on Tuesday. She has been here multiple times. There was a whole list put in today's Atlanta Journal-Constitution newspaper of all of the visits that she's made to Georgia. And she's not only focused just on Atlanta, but also some of the metro areas and some of the other cities in the state. Specifically, she's gone to Gwinnett County, where there's a lot of diversity in Gwinnett County. And I believe right now in Georgia, 34% of the electorate is African American. So that's going to make a significant difference, having her at the top of the ticket. And the enthusiasm is very real here.
Instead, you know, the Harris campaign, Trump's interview, they responded to it. They said, 78-year-old criminal.
AIPAC
right?
at it
Emphasizing
again.
two important points there, age and conviction.
AIPAC at it again, by the way. Cory Bush already being outspent $10 million to $2 million.
People who were doing the Biden campaign. And that is just not
Actually,
something that would have been said. Or
I don't even know if it's
even...
AIPAC, but I suspect it is. I'll look into it. Where are they coming? Oh, nope, it is. Yeah. United Democracy Project. No, that's Fair Shake, Mainstream Democrats PAC, DMFI. Where's the money coming from? New FEC 24 fair shake. Democratic majority for Israel PAC. That's a APAC one. Working families is pro Corey. Anyway, let's get back to this. I'll look at the Cori Bush race in a second.
And kind of own that most specifically. And I really think the third thing is the Dobbs decision gives her a chance to be most offensive on the best issue for Democrats.
Y'all heard this already.
Joe Biden was not
On the Hasanabi
capitalizing
broadcast.
on that issue in the same way that a lot of Democrats are across the country, and she is better suited for that.
Well, she caught the Trump campaign flat-footed because I think they were expecting progressive left Kamala Harris, somebody who supported the Green New Deal or somebody who ran away from her law enforcement credentials. And she is running a general election campaign. She is running as a centrist Democrat. Her message, if you watch, she gives the same stump speech every time she speaks, which works in a 3-month race. She's talking about paid family
Can Cori
leave,
overcome this? Yes.
building the middle class. It's an economics message, a hint of reproductive rights, and then character over a criminal. Like, that's a message that resonates. She's not going through a litany of left-wing priorities, and I don't think that's what they expected from her.
And that's where she's most comfortable, where she is right now. She was uncomfortable 4 years ago when she was trying to appease the left.
David, what do you think is the backstory here to President Obama? Of course, he's going to endorse her. He'll probably do it with great fanfare, but that doesn't change the fact that he's the last one to do it. And, you know, he didn't just jump in the water feet first.
In the midst of a pivotal week in Kamala Harris's political journey, she grappled with one of the nation's most pressing foreign policy challenges, facing an Israeli prime minister who notably omitted any mention of her in his Wednesday address to Congress. Previously known for her role alongside President Joe Biden, a staunch supporter of Israel despite strained relations with Benjamin Netanyahu, Harris now stands as the presumptive Democratic nominee. She faces the task of defining her presidential aspirations across all fronts, while Biden focuses on securing an Israel-Hamas ceasefire and considers re-engaging with Saudi Arabia as a key legacy project for his remaining term at the White House. Harris did not preside over Netanyahu's speech to Congress on Wednesday, opting instead to attend a pre-scheduled event in Indiana, while protests erupted near the U.S. Capitol. However, after her meeting with the Prime Minister on Thursday afternoon, she made her stance unequivocally clear, addressing reporters in a manner unlike her previous interactions with foreign leaders. Harris began by recalling her lifelong connection to Israel, including childhood efforts to collect money to plant trees there, and she outlined her work within the administration. She emphasized her unwavering commitment to Israel, affirming its right to exist and its security. If you found this video informative, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and thanks for watching.